Well, we are pleased to be joined by Republican candidate for Oregon's 4th Congressional District, Monique DeSpain. Thanks for coming into our studio, Monique.
Thank you, Brandon. Good to be here.
We're happy to have you. Obviously, things ramping up. It's a couple months now, a little more than a couple months away from Election Day. But really, about 2 months, maybe even a little less, until Oregonians start receiving their ballots. What has it been like since the last time we had you in, and in terms of campaigning around the district? What's that been like?
It's been fantastic. It's been just a big listening tour, truth tour. I've been all over the 4th District, which is, as you know, the 2nd largest geographical district in Oregon. And I can confirm we have the most beautiful district. We've got the beautiful oceans of the beaches, the coastline. We have 3/4 of the Oregon coastline in our district. And then just beautiful forest land. So much of it, 86% of our district is forests and the mountains, and wonderful people, all very much concerned about the things that I talk about in my campaign.
You know, you mentioned just the geographical area of this district. That probably causes some challenges from your campaign, just getting around. But also, it is different people who have different wants, different needs, different issues that are important to them. How do you address that when you're maybe in one part of the district where such and such is important, or you go to the coast where fishing and the coastal community and the port, those are the issues that are important? How do you deal with that?
Well, I listen to all of it, and we have, there's not so much that's different, really. My campaign is focused on public safety and border security, and everybody agrees they're feeling very insecure about the circumstances. We have homelessness all through the district, and the increased crime, those are common concerns. The economy, inflation, the cost of living, it's terrible everywhere in this 4th District. And, but you're right, we have some unique issues on the coast with the windmill farms, BOEM, kind of a rogue federal agency, not listening to the people who live and work and depend on the resources of the ocean, are not being heard, which is a little more unique than, say, Douglas County. But there too, there's this common thread of government agencies just having their way with Oregon and not listening to the people that live and work here.
What is the message then? Maybe, you said public safety, the border, but sort of your overall message, regardless of which part of the district you're in, that you are sending to to perhaps your future constituents?
Well, I hear from them that they're tired of career politicians that they never hear from and they don't see, they don't feel heard. It's common across the district that people do not feel that Oregon has a voice in Washington, D.C. And that's what this federal representative job is all about, is to take the voice of the people who live and work here to Washington, D.C. to stick up for Oregonians when major policy decisions and spending decisions are being made in Congress.
So obviously, listening to the people who will be voting and who could be your future constituents in this district. But let's be honest, from a national perspective, this is a race that is getting some national attention. It is somewhat of a swing race. So I'm assuming that nationally people have been reaching out to you, and maybe the National Republican Party as well. How does that factor into your campaign strategies, your issues, and your perspective from that side of things?
Well, my focus is on meeting the needs of the people of the 4th District. That's what this is all about for me. I've lived here for over 25 years, raised my kids here, I've represented clients here and businesses. I understand this district, and that's why my message, I think, is resonating with so many people. It didn't just start as a candidate that I realized our state is really suffering from the homelessness, the fentanyl crisis, the education, we're just #1 for all the worst in Oregon. And so that's really what I've been focused on. And then as far as the Republican Party, it's just like any other political party. There's an infrastructure that helps to support the election process to just get on the ballot and be competitive. But because I've been out around the district talking to people, I am really connecting and my message is resonating with people. And that's why my race is one of the top 10 most competitive challenger races in the United States of all the congressional races. This one has caught a lot of attention because I'm a strong challenger. I bring a lot to the table, and I will stand up for Oregonians, and I'm running against an incumbent who is under federal investigation. and has been casting very dangerous votes for America, not just for Oregon. We're talking the U.S. House of Representatives, and we have a representative of the American people who does not want to secure our border. That's just one example. That's what's catching national attention.
We have talked about this before, and because the borders is, like you said, an essential part. What do you want to change? What do you think that, particularly in Congress, the seat you're running for, they could do to address that issue?
Well, again, Oregon needs to be heard. Oregon is a legitimate state. It's not just the dumping ground for all bad things. We need elected representatives in Oregon who don't just roll over and let the federal government do whatever it wants, or let bad actors, cartels, criminals do whatever they want in our Oregon. So that's the first thing I offer, is to stand up for Oregon, and I understand what this 4th District wants and needs. Secondly, I want to join the majority of elected representatives who want to protect Americans. And those are all parties, right? I'll work with anybody, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, to secure our nation. You know, when I'm elected, I'll be the only congressperson in the Oregon delegation of all 6 congresspeople that's a veteran and that has substantial national security experience. We, as Speaker Johnson said, this is a wartime Congress, and we need people that understand how important national security is. Now, most common sense people understand it. For some reason, we have an elected representative in Val Hoyle who doesn't seem to understand it. So I want to join the Americans that represent us in Congress to meet those basic needs. The second is, after national security is, of course, the economy, which is definitely negatively impacted by the unsecured border, by the way. But people are really struggling. There are more and more people just living paycheck to paycheck in this great, abundant country, and that's just unacceptable to most Americans. We know we can do better.
Democrats will say that there was a bipartisan border bill that was on the table that essentially was eventually voted down. And that did address some of the issues you're speaking of in working towards better securing the border. Would you have voted for that bill, and why wasn't that passed?
Well, there are several bills now. I'm competing to represent Oregonians in Congress, in the U.S. House, and there was a bill that H.R. 2 that was passed by Republicans and Democrats. It was a border bill that I would have voted for, that Val Hoyle voted against. Now, she didn't have the opportunity to vote for the Senate bill that the Democrats love to talk about. It's remarkable to me that elected representatives that go through what we're going through to get elected, and they have that vote for their people, that there'd be a suggestion that they're not voting, that some ex-president could call up and give them directions. Maybe Val Hoyle operates that way. She does vote the way the Biden party has told her, the Biden administration. She's a party stamp, but it's really just ridiculous to suggest that every elected official behaves that way, that all the senators. I would not have supported that bill because it did not secure the border. It was a compromise. I will never compromise on national security for this great nation. Why do that? We have the capacity to secure our border using so many different means: cybersecurity, increased border patrol, physical barriers. I know our military capacity. I know the capacity of this country. I have complete faith that if we have elected officials that have the will to protect us and secure our border, it will happen. So that bill that I think you're referring to from the Senate still allowed 5,000 illegal immigrants into the country every day, every week. It was over 1 million illegal immigrants. It's unsustainable. Right now, we've had more illegal immigrants come into this country during the Biden administration, that a larger number, close to 10 million, that's more than the population of Oregon for sure, more than the population of 45 states. So back up to that bill, to allow 1.5 million, whatever it was, I would have not voted for it just on that. I don't care how much pork or bacon or promises were in there. I will never compromise on our national security.
A lot of those that would have been allowed over, though, were either through asylum or through other means of legally crossing the border to allow, ways for people to come into the country. I mean, you're not opposed to people coming in through those sorts of ways.
Absolutely not. We need immigration reform. We've needed that for decades, and I support refining. It's terrible how long people have to wait and how much money they have to spend to lawfully come into this country. The unsecure border is exacerbating an already broken system. My mother was an immigrant. To say that we need national security and demand national security and try to wrap that into immigration, objecting to immigration is fallacious and just chaos creating, and it's a great example of how we need to all start remembering we're all Americans. If we don't get this sorted out, we will be losing our country, and we're all going to go down together, Democrats and Republicans. So I don't know anyone who doesn't agree that we need immigration reform. I support immigration reform, and everyone across the district. Very few. I could count on the thousands of people I've talked to, I could count on both hands, think that everything's okay. And Val Hoyle's one of them. She's on record saying we need the flow of immigrants that we have over the border. We need what we have right now. Right now it's costing upwards of $500 million is what I heard, the number I read last. And remember, I'm campaigning, I'm not in office, so our current congresswoman should know these numbers. Right now, we have the FBI director of the Biden administration says that we are the most vulnerable we've ever been as a nation because of the open border. And so all the expense, and these are humans coming over the border. They need to eat, they need medical care. They're flooding our emergency rooms. We have an elected congresswoman that says it's all good the way it is. We need it the way it is, and we should codify it. The Dignity Act would just codify and make lawful the expense that's being foisted on American citizens right now.
And Val Hoyle has come out and said, though, that she would have supported that Senate border bill to increase border security and money at the border. But I understand what you're saying is that, there's a lot of people who might say Oregon is so far north of the border. But certainly I-5 runs right up, right? And we're certainly impacted by the border and immigration and the fentanyl crisis. I think a lot of people can point to coming up through I-5 and through the southern border. So I get that. What I want to ask you about is when you say Oregon's being run over, do you really believe that Oregon's really being run over by illegal immigration?
I said the federal government.
Okay.
Be steamrolled by the federal government, and that was in the context of the BOEM, Bureau of Ocean and Energy Management, that has told Oregon that they will be, just last week or two, I did a press release on MoniqueForCongress.com that describes how BOEM has issued, is auctioning leases for the ocean 30 miles off the coast of Oregon to put in, leasing 195,000 acres. That's what I said, running over. No, I never said that the Oregon's being run over by illegal immigrants.
Got it.
But it is being run over by fentanyl. Oregon has the highest death rate, fentanyl death rate. That's just who died, not injured, in Oregon. That's unacceptable. Cartels running over Oregon. And we have a congresswoman who's doing favors with people in the marijuana industry who are under federal investigation. Very dangerous situation.
Also, when you kind of referred to, there's discussions, rumors about former President Trump impacting that border bill. And you said some former ex-president. He's not just some former ex-president. He is still the candidate at the top of the party, right? And so he certainly
Not at the time that senators who are elected to be representatives of the people of their states, we have 2 senators, I think would take exception to the suggestion that they would just take a call from anybody and vote the way they're told. That is what career politicians do with their special interest groups. We see that in the text messages between Val Hoyle and LaMotta. She's consulting with them about how to vote in the Oregon State Legislature. So I don't doubt that we have career politicians that vote the way they're asked to vote. But to suggest that everybody did that and it's one person's fault is just, Consistent with the pattern of career politicians checking their backbone at the door and not standing up for their constituents.
So you don't think that former President Trump has that sway within the party?
I have no idea. I'm just like you, Brandon, and I'm running for this 4th district to represent the people who live here, to represent my family. Val Hoyle does not represent me and my interests, nor my sons, nor any of my neighbors. And it turns out, really, the majority of the people who live in the 4th district, that's what I'm focused on.
And so if former President Trump called you and said, hey, I'd like you to push this topic or this issue, what would you say?
You know, I've had a very full career in many challenging political environments, and I have been confronted with those sorts of scenarios before, and I always do what's right, and it's always turned out right. And no, I don't take orders from people telling me to do something that I know is wrong, particularly when I'm representing somebody. I'm a lawyer. I've spent decades representing people and would never undermine my clients. You know, and believe me, my clients all have people with adverse interests that would love to influence the outcome. But no, absolutely not. Never have done it, and I never will.
Next couple months, like you said, or like we said at the beginning, it's crunch time, and the election's approaching quickly, and I'm sure for you it's approaching really quickly. I'm sure the days move by quickly. What do the next couple months look like for you?
Just more of the same. We're now door knocking, and it's my favorite part. I'm really enjoying meeting people. There's nothing like face-to-face contact, and I intend to do that once I'm elected. I am making contact with people all the time. I've been having lots of group events. We did a veterans roundtable, which was just a very good turnout. Law enforcement roundtable out on the coast. I have met with chambers, women in business, and chambers all along the coast and through the district, Rotary, just meeting as many people as I can so they know, you know, we can elect anyone we want to be our representative. So why send a career politician who's embroiled in legal challenges and really has actually told us in her interviews that she doesn't have time to deal with everything. You know, we have an elected representative who missed 29 votes in Congress in her freshman term. That's one of the highest absentee scores of any freshman congresswoman. I do want to get to talking about the interview about LaMotta where my opponent called me a liar. But it's in that interview that she said, you know, she's too busy to get her email when she was asked to produce her text messages by her own previous organization, Bully. She's now continues to be too busy. All the events I just told you about, nobody's ever had our elected congresswoman come and visit and talk with these commissioners, these Rotary groups, women in business groups. That's what I intend to do for the next 2 months and through, if I'm fortunate enough to be able to represent the good people of the 4th District, I intend to carry on as I am, listening to them and taking it a next step further, which I can't do as a candidate. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do something to deliver solutions.
Can we have you back before the election?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, because you are busy. You have a lot of people that, and we want to keep hearing about it. And let's break down a little bit more of the issues when we meet back in the next couple months and really dive into what's important to the people of the 4th District.
Oh, of course. I'd love to.